This is a Continental Neoclassical plant stand, and unfortunately, it had been damaged in a move. The legs have broken, some of the scrolls of the legs have broken and splintered, and there's a few other issues with this stand, a natural age crack on the dome, and some problems with the gold crest. In this video, we will demonstrate repair, casting and reproduction, gold leaf, touch-up and finishing techniques to restore the stand. We're going to start by rubbing a little glue into the crack just to let the area harden up for now. This piece of broken leg I'm carefully going to wiggle out and remove this old hide glue using my Dremel tool carefully. I'm adding some white glue into the socket and some onto the dowel-in of the leg. I'm going to push this into the base and just hold it in place with tape for now. This loose corner of painted metal, I'm using a flat blade to get some glue behind it, hold it in place with tape until it dries. This loose leg, I added a thin piece of veneer between the leg and the hole just to make it a tighter fit as I glued it in place. There's a few natural age cracks on the base and a few on the side of the base. I like to just seal them with some glue rubbed into them. That age crack on the dome, I use an epoxy putty to fill it. The gold crest has got 4 missing scrolls, 6 prior handmade scrolls, and 2 original scrolls. I'm going to use a sill putty to make an impression and a mold of the 2 original scrolls. Here's our mold, and I'm going to fill it with an epoxy putty. The age crack, I'm going to first start off with a light coat of black lacquer across it and seal it with a feathering of clear shellac. These are 2 scrolls out of the mold. I'll make another set of these. I'm steel wooling down that shellac, and I'm going to touch up the black crack again with some lacquer. Very light coats, one at a time. That's the best way to get a good touch up. And seal it again with a feathering of clear shellac. The scrolls, I'm going to cut the excess off around them, sharpen them up with my Dremel tool, some sandpaper, get them prepared to inlay into the crest. Using my pencil to mark the scrolls where to cut them, and I'm going to glue them with this glue, which hardens when you spray it with an activator. The hairline cracks and small imperfections, I rub a little putty into them. I'm using my scraper to shape up the putty and the joints. These are powdered pigments. I'm mixing them with shellac to reproduce the bowl color, which is that browner color you see underneath the gold leaf. This is my glue that I apply all the places that I want to add gold leaf. I'm going to gild all the scrolls except for the 2 original ones. I'm going to match that gold color. I'm using my badger hair brush and a gilder's knife to pick up and place down the gold. This is a thick-haired badger hair brush. I use it to move the gold around so it adheres to all the places I put the glue. Adding some gold leaf to the plume of the crest and using some cotton to press it into shape. I'm using a brush and adding some color and details, some antiquing around the crevice of the detail of the plume, and I put a little light color stain over the new gold to antique it. Preparing the legs for repair, I'm first going to clean these small pieces using my Dremel tool to remove all the traces of the old hide glue. The foot of this leg had a broken dowel. I'm using a 1/4-inch drill, drilling out the platform and where it goes in the foot of the leg. Tapping the 1/4-inch dowel into the foot of the leg, now I'm going to attach it to the platform. I'm going to tap it with this little hammer that my dad had given me years ago. This piece of leg, I'm going to glue it, hold it in place with tape and a C-clamp. This leg I glued and held with some tape, and I'm using a section of an upholstery spring as a clamp to hold it into place. It's time to join the base to the platform. I'm going to first put glue on all the joints. Going to clamp it up and get it prepared to stand it up. One of the legs is missing a small section and we have to determine how much of it is missing. So I'm going to use a splint with a couple clamps to hold the leg in place. Now I'm going to measure the distance, and it looks like we need about 1 inch inserted that is missing. So I'm squaring off the joint. I reproduce the shape out of maple, and I'm going to glue it into place. After it's dried, I'm going to shape the leg and get it prepared for a veneer which goes over the new section we put in. This is mahogany veneer. I'm marking it. I'm going to cut it. It's going to be attached in a cross grain way. You can see the grain is going horizontally across the leg. So I'm going to hold the veneer with some tape, let that dry. The next day I take the tape off and smooth off the veneer on both sides and prepare the sides for new veneer as well. Using my Dremel tool to make a square cut on the veneer, we're going to add new veneer from that section down. On both sides. I'm preparing the joint right now. This is mahogany veneer. I dampen it with a little water before I cut it. It makes the veneer a little softer, so when you cut it, it doesn't splinter. So we'll mark the shape, and then I'm going to use my scissors to cut out the 2 pieces I need for the sides. Applying a little glue to the leg and to the veneer before I press it into shape. Going to hold it with some tape so it doesn't move, and I'm going to clamp it with a couple pieces of wood that have some blue tape on the face of it so it doesn't stick to the leg when I take the clamps off. This type of repair was done on 2 legs. 2 legs needed veneer work. The next day after we remove the clamps, I can use my Dremel tool to trim off the excess veneer and smooth the area with some sandpaper. Now we're going to go to the top and give it a cleaning first to remove all the wax and dirt. There's a few fine scratches and nicks on the top that we're going to seal with a water-based putty. I also put putty in the cracks and crevices that needed it where we worked on the base. So now we're going to smooth off the putty with some fine sandpaper and the veneer to make sure it's ready for finishing work. Now all the places with the new veneer are going to get a light coat of clear shellac. We're also going to restore the existing finish on the legs, so I'm adding a light coat of shellac over all the legs. Now we're going to go to the top and smooth the putty off, and I'm going to feather a clear coat of shellac across the touch-up area. Using my powdered pigments again, I'm first going to add a little color to the new veneer to bring it closer to the color of the finish. Those areas where the touch-up was, that's another light coat of clear shellac. After I'm done with the touch-up on the top, this time I'm going to give the whole top a light coat of clear shellac. So we take some fine steel wool and we rub down the legs carefully, bring the sheen down, smooth the shellac off, and check everything for a last touch-up. A light coat of clear shellac is now placed over the areas that got the final touch-up. So now we rub down all the legs and all the shellac with fine steel wool again, make sure everything is dulled down and is smooth, and we rub a little paste wax into the base. I'm using microfiber rags to buff off the wax, and the base is completed. Doesn't look overdone. It looks like an original finish, which was kept in good condition. After the apron was tested for touch-up, that's given a wax and a buffing as well. The whole top gets rubbed down with fine steel wool. Add in the paste wax. And buff up the top with the microfiber rag. The table is now completed.